Hey there. Been real busy lately packing orders and shipping out Erie magazines. Quite a few hundred of those. Pretty time consuming, pretty laborious, printing labels and stuffing envelopes and stuff like that. And pretty tired of YouTube, so your typical YouTube stuff. So I started delving into these PBS, American History series, I guess they're called, or something like that. And both of them basically took place. We're looking at eras in the before the 1920s and around the 1920s. So essentially that is, hello again. Essentially that is about 100 years ago. So you might think, oh, it's 100 years, long time ago, we've come a long way since then. Well, not necessarily. Not really at all, because the first one was about the Gilded Age, which is basically the rich in America positioning themselves basically as royalty in a way. J.P. Morgan, all these other people, and how they sought to control everything and put profits above everything else. And the workers went through hell. Total hell. 12-hour days, 6 days a week, lowest possible wages. Children worked too. And eventually it got so bad that they began to organize into unions. And they marched and they protested, did all this stuff, and guess what happened? The U.S. government basically stepped in, began imprisoning them, arresting them, basically siding with the money. So, yeah, it's basically what we have today, the same thing. Moneyed interests controlling everything, and, they don't necessarily have to throw you in jail, but they can certainly silence you pretty easily. One interesting thing about J.P. Morgan is that he was involved in banking and finance his entire life. Why? Because his father taught him that was what he should do. So you might think, on the surface, that someone like this is like, oh, well, they're just a greedy piglet and they're driven by money and that's where it's coming from. It's like, no, that's not where it's coming from. It's like, can you imagine you're a child, you have a father who's not there for you because he's all, numbers and money and business going on in his head. So you don't get the real love and approval that you should have gotten from him. But then he sets up a test for you where, oh, well, here's what you need to do to please me, what I want you to do, what to be. And so sets him on a path where it's like, even, later in life, he's an old man, he's still doing the same patterns, same habits, same things, try to achieve the same goals. Why? Because his dad treated him like shit. That's where it's coming from. So you see this everywhere. You see it, business, politics, showbiz, music, everywhere. People get treated crappily and they wind up trying to dig their way out of it by overachieving, producing, creativity, all that stuff. So it's pretty much coming from a bad, toxic place. Now, the other documentary was about eugenics. And here again, crazy scientists basically not, the science is not really there for all this stuff. Very, very flimsy. The studies, so-called, that they did don't really hold any water. But they were basically trying to divide the country into two groups, where one group is, the intelligent, good quality, positive people that should be in charge of the country and should own things and, be in control. And the other ones were people who were, alcoholics, criminals, and people with low IQs. And people right at the borderline of, normal intelligence and low intelligence, they called morons, which actually comes from, It means morally unfit, basically. So, for example, the IQ tests that they gave a whole lot of draftees that were going into World War I asked all these questions, and the questions were crappy. They didn't have anything to do with intelligence. They had to do with, if you went to school, literacy, what you'd learned about the more middle-class culture and things like that. So a whole hell of a lot of the draftees failed the test. Well, they were labeled morons. It's like, these are people who, anyway, you can see where all that is going. And ultimately, the goal was to restrict breeding. Low IQ people would be sterilized so that, the better intelligent people would not be corrupted by the morons. And, the way that played out with intelligence, or eugenics, I mean, today we do the same things with political parties and things like that. It's like, well, we're the right ones, they're the wrong ones. Eugenics, those programs, they also tried to stop immigration, and they successfully did that for many years, because basically they said people from other countries that aren't white aren't intelligent enough, and even a lot of the ones from Europe weren't deemed intelligent enough either. So, at its core, what this represents is people having to wave a flag or wear a medal or a badge that basically says that I'm good. And not that I'm good because I do anything. I'm good in comparison to someone who's not so good. And it's incredible because throughout history, this dynamic is played out in innumerable ways all across cultures, where we're the good ones, they're the bad ones. Basically, what you could call opposition in definition by opposition. All right, so 100 years ago or more, how little things have changed. Maybe they're not supposed to change. Just in closing, these ideas, this talk, it's been said, that consciousness is basically universal. It permeates the universe. It's everywhere. And it's responsible for the physical reality and more. And we're conscious too, but in a sense we're these little bubbles of it. So it's like we're separate. We have chosen to manifest here, but we have amnesia about it. So we've agreed to do that on a, soul level, subconscious level, something like that. And so that's why we wind up playing these messy games, making mistake after mistake after mistake, because mistakes are the way that you learn. So the things in the past that I talk about, the Gilded Age with all the poverty and suffering, or the eugenics programs with all of that pain and suffering, caused by people who, consider themselves to be good. Basically, people acting on a, reactive, unconscious level, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I'll leave it there. I recommend these programs. They're very well done, very well researched. A lot of good film footage from way back when. So let me know what you think, okay? Bye.